Okay, good evening. I feel very, very strange up here in front of a whole big empty church. At least I have Katrina, our youth minister, member of our parish team, and our IT expert here, and Suzanne, our sacramental coordinator. They're here behind the pillar at the moment. We are, as you know, we are living in very, very funny times. We would normally have our First Communion and First Penance meeting way back in September. We didn't this year because, as you can imagine, it was so good though that the children were able to get back to school in the end of August and September and have continued to stay in school ever since. So that was a great achievement, and congratulations to the principals and the teachers and all who work hard in the schools. So I want to acknowledge them and thank them. We are joined tonight by parents and families from the whole parish, from St. Felix National School and Collection National School. And we want to take this opportunity to link up with the parents. It's not the same. It's very, very difficult to interact with you this way. But it's something. And hopefully soon we will be able to meet face to face and interact with you all. It was lovely that we were able to have the children from both schools, First Communion children, second class children, attend our Mass virtually this morning, and they have done it a few weeks ago as well, and we will continue to link in with them that way. They join the Mass from their classrooms to put up their screens, and they can watch and pray along the Mass with us. So that's important to us as well. We sent out a letter just before the midterm break inviting parents to send in a form so that we would be able to link in with you this way. And thankfully a lot did send in the form. Some didn't, and that's fine too, because we made that clear. It's only those people who want to engage with us are to engage with us, really. Since then, since the WhatsApp group went out, a few others then said, oops, I forgot to send in the form, and they have sent it in, and hopefully they too now have joined us and have joined our WhatsApp group so we can continue to keep contact with you. This is very difficult for us. It's very difficult to engage with you and your children this way. It's really, really difficult, but it's been such a difficult year for everyone. And just from the point of view of the church, since the 13th of March, funerals weren't able to be celebrated the way we would like them. People suffer greatly because of not being able to have wakes or a proper funeral celebration. That's difficult. Couples preparing for their wedding. So many have cancelled, changed date, postponed on a number of occasions. It's quite difficult. I remember one night, on a Friday night, having a wedding rehearsal with a young couple, a lovely young couple in Collection, and we got word during it that Laois was to be locked down from that night, and they had to cancel their wedding reception. Horrific for the poor couple that close to their wedding day. Parents have had to postpone their children's baptism, and maybe a few times. We know too that many children and young people weren't able to have their graduation masses this year. They weren't able to have their sports days and holidays. And so much suffering has gone on in the world. And the church has suffered too. We suffer because we don't have our congregations here with us. And even when we opened up, we were having to have such restrictions that even not big congregations were able to come to us. But we're all suffering and we're all playing our part so that COVID-19 will be defeated and it will leave our country and leave the world, and please God, soon it will, and we will be back to the way we were before it arrived. So bear with us. We are asking you here, our parish team, to please engage with us. You will probably have to make bigger efforts, but we want you to do it because it's important for us here to know that you are engaging with us, you are joining us, and you're trying to take part. Last year we were blessed. We had our confirmation celebrated in February. We had our first confession celebrated before lockdown started. We had to then celebrate our first communion last year, and we didn't know when, so it had to be cancelled, and we did get it celebrated on the 25th, that weekend of the 25th of July. And it was great because the children hadn't gone out of their communion clothes, so it was nice. But we had to do it differently. People had to wear masks. Only the bare household, the family, could attend. We had to take a hard decision to move the collection First Communions into St. Clair's because it was a much bigger church and classes would be able to come together to celebrate. We hadn't our children's choirs. We hadn't the chance to take photographs with the children and their families. But the only feedback we got was that the First Communion ceremonies were very special. And so many parents said to us that we were able to focus more on what the sacrament was about. So that was nice to hear. There was no practicing with the teachers. There was no fuss. The children came and we had very special, prayerful, spiritual ceremonies, which was lovely. And it was lovely to hear the positive feedback as well. And so that's what we want to learn from, to have still, no matter what the circumstances is, nice spiritual celebrations. The first time we normally meet parents for First Communion, the big question on all people's minds is, when is it? When is the First Communion ceremony? So I'm telling you now, we don't know yet. Because one thing that COVID-19 has taught us, you cannot make plans too far into the future. So hopefully soon after Christmas, we will get a better idea and we will give out tentative dates for the sacraments. But please bear with us, because it's not just about the First Communion ceremony, it's about preparing and preparing well. So tonight we just want to begin by saying to you, let's focus on what Holy Communion, the sacrament, is really about. I know, and I'm just going to say it, and I know Katrina is going to send it, and you mightn't be able to follow the screens fully, but I think you'll get a good close-up enough view of them. We'd hope to have a second camera tonight so that it would be focusing on the screens, but not ready yet, but hopefully by our next interaction it will be there for us. We put up that screen there because we because we feel, a lot of people has a negative perception of the church. The focus on the church as it is, as it should be, not as we perceive it to be. Okay, so forget about your perceptions of the church, because if you watch Facebook, if you follow social media, even the main media, the church is constantly being battered right, left and center. And yet you're here tonight with us because you want to feel a part of what we're about. So the focus is, what actually is our church, not what people perceive it to be. And I'm going to read for you a scripture reading that is the vision of our parish. It's part of our mission statement. So I'll read it and then I will just go through it a little bit. The whole community remained faithful to the teaching of Jesus, to praying and celebrating Mass together. The Christian community all lived together and shared everything in common. They sold their goods and possessions and then shared out the proceeds with everyone according to what each one needed. They always went as a community to church where they celebrated Mass. They shared their food gladly and generously. They praised God and so were looked up to by everyone. That's the early Christian community. And that's what we in this parish try to base our parish around. The early Christian community. And three things they did. They prayed, they celebrated Mass together, and they looked after one another. So the first one is they pray. We as a Christian community pray. It's so important. We follow Jesus, who founded the Christian community. He always liked to go off to quietly pray. We encourage our parish community to be a parish who prays, whether it's privately, whether it's in the family, or where you come to church for the different celebrations, whether it's Eucharist, or whether it's novenas, or whether it's baptisms, or other celebrations of prayer that we have here. So Christian communities pray. Secondly, we celebrate Mass together. For the last few years, we sort of said the main preparation for children who are preparing for First Communion is to get to know Mass, come to Mass, to celebrate Mass together. Come back to that in a little bit because that's where First Communion comes from. And the third thing that we do is we look after one another. Christians care for one another. They help one another. We try to do it here in our parish through our St. Vincent de Paul, who spend a lot of energy and finances helping people in need. We do it through St. Clare's Hospitality Food Kitchen, where we give out almost 70 food parcels every week. We're giving out way more than that during the pandemic, during lockdown. And then the kitchen itself continues to give out dinners to people every day. This is Buddy, by the way, too, who has joined me here, another one with us. So we give out food, we share. But also we reach out to hospital visitations. There is house visitation groups, there is bereavement groups, different things that as an outreach in the parish we continue. It's not just about coming here, it's what we do when we leave here. It's part of what we are as well. So there are the three things again. We pray, we celebrate Mass, and we look after one another. We look out for one another and care for one another. That's what we are. That's not what's perceived out there that we are. There's lots of other perceptions, but I'm telling you that's what we are, and that's what we as a parish are focusing on all the time. The main one is the second one, celebrating Mass together, because it's Eucharist. Sometimes we refer to Mass as the Eucharist and First Communion as First Eucharist. Well, where does that come from? Just a little history, not too much. We'll go through this quick because I don't want to bore you with two facts, but I think it's important because Eucharist goes back to the Last Supper. And Jesus gathered the night before he died with his apostles. They were celebrating what's called a Passover Meal. I won't go into the history of that, but I will hopefully during the year explain a little bit more about what their Passover meal. It's something that the Jews still celebrate today, to celebrate their Passover out of Egypt. But Jesus was a Jew, so he celebrated. And at the Last Supper, he took bread because he wanted to leave his apostles something that they would remember him by, because he was going to die the next day, you know. So he took the bread and he said, "Take this, all of you, this is my body." Then he took the cup of wine and he said, "Take this and drink, for this is my blood." And then he said, "Do this in memory of me." So that's the important part. Do this in memory of me. Jesus is asking us, his followers, to go to Mass. As simple as that. Don't think that you can be a good Christian. You can be a good person, as probably most of you are. But to be a good Christian Mass has to be the center of our lives because Jesus asked us to do that. Because he took the bread and said, this is my body, this is my blood. So what we receive when we go to Mass is the body of Jesus. Not holy bread, not something that looks like anything else. It's Jesus, and that's something that we believe in our hearts. I was talking to the children today at Mass about the miracles of Jesus, and like Jesus was like doing magic. Well, this is a big magic thing. The bread and wine becomes his body and blood. We don't understand, but we believe in our hearts. And then when we go to the early Christians, which I read that little piece about you earlier, they always gathered to do what Jesus asked them to do. They prayed together, and they celebrated Mass because that's what he asked them to do. And they shared everything that they have. So everything was held in common. Ever since then, and some of the older generations, like Suzanne there or maybe beyond, remembered where we used to celebrate Mass with the priest at the back with the people. But it was changed down through the centuries. Then Vatican II came along. So I remember, well, children getting their first communion with their, what do you call it, along the altar rails there like that. And there's the paten and all of that. The Eucharist was always central to people's lives. And then even when they couldn't get to churches, people celebrated Mass in their homes. And that was so important. And then during the 300 years of British rule of invasion of the penal times, when it was forbidden to gather to celebrate Mass, the people still gather to celebrate Mass. They gathered in Mass rocks, and that's one in our own parish out in Keelog, out of fear of death if they were caught. But they still gathered to celebrate Mass. I think it's very ironic now that all of the times in the past when it was forbidden to say Mass, people still found a way to do it. Now we can't do it, but again we're playing our part in trying to defeat this virus that we have. Sometimes I see people even standing around the churches. The church is empty, but people stand around outside because the sound comes out to the speakers, and that's the way they celebrate Mass. So it reminds you a little bit of penal times during these days. But let's not too focus on that. The important thing is right through the history of the world, people gathered to celebrate Mass because Jesus asked them to. We are very blessed during these of COVID-19 that people can actually join us via our parish webcam or our parish Facebook page. And it's lovely that so many people do join us. And we do get people telling us that they're watching from America and Australia and Canada and Dubai and all over Europe. People join us here in St. Clair's to celebrate Mass or our novenas or our November Masses or our Holy Hours or our Angelus or whatever little other prayers we do. So that's just a brief history, parents, and hope children are there with you to tell you that Mass has a history. It's part of who we are as Christians, and it's not an optional extra. And so we always try to say, going to Mass, whether it's physically or the way we have to do it now, virtually, is the best preparation your child and you can make for First Communion. So the communion preparation itself, it is a threefold part. It is the home, the parish, and the school. And the parish focus. Well, normally we would have the first Sunday of every month as a very special family Mass. And during lockdown or even during restrictions, we are going to have that special Mass beginning on the first Sunday of December at the 11:30 Mass here in St. Clair's, and we invite all of the parents and children and families from Collection to join us on the webcam, because even if the churches are reopened by then, we won't be able to take the numbers, sadly. Now, if you'd like to come along and try your luck, but the stewards will tell you whether we're full or not, do that as well. But either ways, we will have that family Mass very much geared towards First Communion children and their families. The readings will be child-friendly, and the music will be done by members of the leaders of our children's choir or whatever. So we will keep it friendly and child child-friendly, as I say. So it'll be the celebration of the community as well. But also we hope that if the churches are reopened, and when they do, it'll be only, I suppose, with restriction numbers, we do hope to have a family mass for every child who has signed up to our program in the middle of the week, once a month. And what I mean by that is we will invite you, we will probably, to see how many numbers who are coming, we probably will have them here in St. Clair's. And again, it's not because St. Clair's is more important than Holy Cross. It's not. It's just safety, it's larger, and we can accommodate people that bit better. That's the only reason, but hopefully later on, when all the restrictions are lifted, we will be back in Holy Cross. But we will be linking to Holy Cross as well. We'll talk to you about that in a moment. Just to say, so that will be a family mass once a month here. Again, keep following us on the WhatsApp group, or we will be emailing or whatever those instructions. The school focus. We are blessed to have our teachers. We have wonderful teachers. I keep saying this at every time I address parents, and I really mean it. And I can't emphasize it enough. We are so blessed in this parish to have wonderful teachers. And this year, we have wonderful teachers as well, and a lot of them are doing First Communion for the first time, and they're joining us tonight via our webcam as well. So Miss McCarthy is with us, Miss Kinsella and Miss Delaney, the three teachers from St. Felix School, and then Miss Shields, who is a veteran now at this stage, preparing children for First Communion. And then Miss Byrne, as you know, has gone on maternity leave, so Miss Jenna Dempsey is taking over, and she's there as well, helping. So they will be preparing the children. They will do the program. They will send out material to children for their home sacred space, and they will be teaching them the prayers and all of the things that. So I can just guarantee you, parents, your children will be well prepared in school. But it's only one part of the triangle. The parish part, hopefully you will come here to our different meetings and our different masses and celebrations. Then we have the family focus. And as I say, bring your child to our monthly mass. And if you can't get to our Sunday masses, please link in. Now we ask you as a family, and we haven't that long left before next May, when we will be winding down. Hopefully we'll be celebrating our communions around then. If you can at all as a family, please join us every Sunday. Saturday evening at 6:30 or Sunday morning at 9 and 11:30. Just gather as a family, turn off everything else, and just gather around, light a candle, and just join in our Mass. It's lovely for us to know that people are joining us. It's very, very difficult for us to say Mass in front of an empty church, just as it's so difficult for me to stand here tonight to speak up to a camera that's way off up there. It's very, very difficult for us, but to know that you are joining us is important. Okay, and I know we were checking the numbers there, so there's quite a number have logged in to join us tonight as well. So tune in to your Mass via your webcam, and then some of the Masses are on Facebook Live as well. Okay, so another thing you can do at home is to listen or to pray with your child. Pray with your child. Just doesn't have to be always the Mass. Say a little night prayer, morning prayer. And you know something that's probably often forgotten is the grace before and after meals. We see it in the television programs, we see families gathering and just say a prayer to God at the start of their meals. That's going our fashion. We're nearly like Buddy now. You go straight in and gobble up the food. Stop and just say a little prayer of thanks before the meal or after the meal. I think it's a lovely way for family to pray together and forget about the television for that moment. Also, just to remember as well, to pray maybe a night prayer with your child or a morning prayer with your child, or when you get into the car to go traveling, say a little prayer. Those were all the little things that we were brought up with, and it stood to us because it's just simply the little prayers in the everyday part of life. I want you to listen to your child what they learned at school, maybe answer any questions they may have as well. Just show an interest. And we want each family to create a family sacred space at home. That can be at top of a locker maybe, or it can be maybe at the side of a shelf, or if you have smaller children, make sure it's up a little bit higher. Not something that's hidden away maybe in the child's bedroom, but maybe it's a public place in the house. If you have your child's baptismal candle, put that in. Put in a little rosary beads, a little bottle of holy water, little pictures of Mary, little other things there. Just put them in and gather as a family now and again to pray. That was brought home to me a few years ago when a little family had a little sad bereavement. A little child died in their family. And one of the children says, "Mommy and Daddy, let's come to our sacred space and say a little prayer together." That was a perfect example of how a sacred place can be used. And so do that in your home. So I'm going to hand you over now to Katrina. As I say, Katrina is our technical expert, does all this work that I haven't a clue about, and she's going to talk you through a little bit more about what you can do to help us here.
I am far from a technical expert, but myself and Suzanne will do all we can to connect with as many families as we can in the parish. And the best way we're finding these days to do that is through the WhatsApp group. So for all of you that got the notification about tonight to the WhatsApp group, it's great that you're here and that you got the link successfully. If you know of anyone else that wants to be added to that, whether it's your partner, your husband or wife, and that would like to be added in as well, it's not limited to just one parent or guardian. It's absolutely fine. We can have as many as you like in it. As you've seen, it is a notice board. So that means that myself and Suzanne are the only ones that can reply, that can send messages in that group, and it's for your own sanity as much as anything else, and patience, because we don't want constant notifications on your phone. There are many WhatsApp groups in your phone, I'm sure, and we don't want to be one that causes any burden. Only gives you information that helps you save time searching for the website and for the webcam links. So we won't be contacting you too often in that, but if we have anything important to say that we need you to hear, that's where we will contact you first and foremost. Now, we do have your email addresses as well, so if anything big needs to be emailed on, we will send it that way too. But as Father John was just saying there about the family space, we'd really love if we could get a photo of each child preparing for communion, a picture of them beside their sacred space at home, on their own, just beside their sacred space. And that photo can be sent to me privately on WhatsApp, or you can email it to us on gkparish@gmail.com, whichever suits you best. And we're going to display a board in Holy Cross and another one here in St. Clair's, and that will create our First Communion corner in each church. So basically that corner will be dedicated to the children preparing for First Communion. And on that board, we want to make sure that your child is represented on it, standing beside their sacred space. So proudly beside it. There won't be any names beside it, obviously, because of GDPR and safeguarding. We'll make sure we're compliant with that. So their face will be smiling brightly, hopefully, in that photograph beside their sacred space in Holy Cross and here. But when we have our family mass, we'll bring both boards together and they'll be displayed in front of the altar here, because the webcam is here in St. Clair's. So just to bring the collection side of the parish into here to St. Clair, so that we can zoom in on both cameras when we please God have that set up. You can tune in and see your faces up nice and close as well. So just so we can feel that kind of sense of connection with you at home, because we wish you could be here, but we know that you can't possibly all be here. And even on Sundays when we do reopen again, we know that the places are limited in both churches. So by having the boards here in both places, it feels like you're always here with us. Now, we will be contacting, as I said, by email and WhatsApp, and the webcam obviously will be going live, and Facebook Live as well. But for those that are less technically minded, or if you don't have a printer at home, we will send links of any worksheets and any activities that could be in addition to what you're getting in school. But we'll send links to all of those things via the WhatsApp group, and you can email it to yourself and print it off. But in those First Communion corners, we'll also have hard copies of those activities. We'll let you know when they're in. We'll send you a photo of the space with the sheets in it. So you won't just go in looking aimlessly for them and they're not there. We'll only let you know when they're in there, and feel free to come in, light a candle, say a few prayers and pick up a sheet in either church on the way out as well. And take a photo and send it in to us whenever you like, and we'll always share them up on Facebook, on our story, on Twitter and Instagram as well. We obviously won't put names up, we'll just have the photo. And that's only if you want those to be shared. If we receive the photo, we will assume that you want us to do something with it to share it, to promote the great work being done in our homes for our sacramental preparation this year. So we just stay in contact as much as you can in whatever way that suits you best, whether it's calling us, emailing, WhatsApp, or popping into the church and connecting that way by saying a prayer or finishing an activity that we've left out for you, and doing your best in school as you can as well. But that's it. We will do our best to keep in contact with you, but you have to keep in contact with us as well as much as you can. And for any queries or anything like that, please do send them privately to myself in the group. You can find my number in there, or email or call the parish. We're here only waiting. We have nothing else to do, of course. We're only dying to talk to all of you, and we wish all the children could be here every week and for your special Mass, but we will, please God, be back soon to having our family Mass in December, and we'll get to see you in person then again.
Okay, thanks Katrina, and thanks Suzanne as well. The big thing there is, we are separated, but we need to stay connected. So stay connected, please, with us as much as you can. It's important for us to know that. And I know many people and many parents haven't linked in with us tonight and haven't signed up to join us, and that's fine too. It's an optional thing, and we won't be going chasing anybody. We will be sending out notices, and it's up to you to make your effort to try to stay connected with us as well. It doesn't mean your child won't be getting communion or first confession if you don't stay connected with us, but we are doing this for those who feel they want to be part of what we're about, and maybe learning a little bit more about the sacrament, and also to become maybe a little bit more active members of our parish and our Christian community as well. It will be our meeting tonight. I know some parents did express an interest that they couldn't make it tonight because of work commitments, but a copy of it will be, won't that be WhatsApped out to them? It'll be put in a WhatsApp group as well, or even if people wanted to go look back on the meeting and whatever, do so. I can't ask you, is there any questions? I'm sure there's loads of questions, but I can ask you, but I can't take your questions tonight, but you may have plenty. Please email them into us, or please WhatsApp or text Katrina or contact the parish office, because we were here to support you, to help you, the parish. The school is doing wonderful work. We're doing the best we can for you, but we're there for you. And hopefully the home, there'll be a special effort made from the home for this year as well. So thank you. Coming to the end of it now, just going to ask God to give you all a special blessing this night. We are united in prayer and in faith, and then Katrina will play just a little piece of music, which I suppose is the theme of what we are about this year. First confession, let's not forget that's there too. Again, we don't know until it's safe to celebrate that sacrament. We will do it in a safe way, but we will be having other meetings before First Confession to talk a little bit more about that sacrament. It's not just all about First Communion this year. First Penance is another very, very special sacrament. So we ask God to bless you tonight and keep you safe. Bless your children and keep them safe. Bless our teachers and our schools, and bless our parish community. And may we all work together to play our part in building up the Christian community, modelling ourselves on the early Christian community who prayed, who celebrated the Eucharist, celebrated Mass, but who also looked out and cared for one another. May we care for one another during these days. May we care for people who are living on their own, people who are hungry or struggling, people who are bereaved or sad. Lord, we keep them in our minds as we reach out to them too. We ask God to bless our teachers who are now on the front line of our COVID-19, as well as our nurses, doctors and carers, and all in the emergency services. Lord, keep everybody safe. Take away this virus from us, and bless those who are trying to develop vaccines so that we can have the immune to it as well. So Almighty God, bless us this night in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. So please join or stay on with us as Katrina puts up our final piece.
We gather in this place.